Peace and blessings, family. You are tuned in to another episode of Sis We Need to Talk. I am your host, Tisha Hillman, and I thank you for joining me today. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule for tuning in to today's show. I hope that this show will bring you love and light and wholeness and knowledge. More importantly than anything else, knowledge and wisdom to help you on your path in this thing that we do every day called life. Because boy, oh boy, sometimes this thing gets a little bit tough. So thank you guys. I know that you could be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with me, and I appreciate that. If you got my whole reference. But anyway, this is a show, if you're just tuning in for the first time, this is a show that primarily focuses on the needs of Black women. Because as a Black woman, that's what I know. I know my sisters, I know my people, and that's what's important to me. That's what matters to me more than anything else. And so I always hope to spread knowledge and wisdom in order to help us to progress. Because as women, particularly Black women, sometimes what we say we want and what that looks like when it manifests looks differently. And I want to have the conversation to fill that void and figure out what's the disconnect. What is the disconnect between what it is that we're saying we want and what we actually get and what that looks like when we actually get it. So I'm hoping that there's something in these conversations that we have and that we've had over the months that will help us to fill those gaps and to have the conversations. Because my sisters, these conversations can be very uncomfortable. But the reason they can be uncomfortable is, just something I said on the show recently is if someone has a gun to your head, that it's the gun is usually pointing in the direction where you are not free, right? Because if the gun is pointed at you, you know that you are not free. And so if you are being triggered and you are responding to something that is being said, don't take that as an attack. That's just simply information for you, to let you know the places in your spirit and in your life where you are not free. Because if something has the ability to cause you to react in such a way, then you know it's information and it should be instructive. And because it should be instructive, I'm hoping, and my intention is that these things that may be triggering, they're not without purpose, but that you're triggered enough to act, not to overreact, but to act, and to act in your own life in order to really examine things for ourselves. Because if we are not free, my sisters, then that means that we are enslaved. And so if we are enslaved and we actually want freedom, and this is what I mean when I say, what is it that we actually want? And so if we actually want freedom and someone is actually showing us the way to freedom, then we should take that as, we should really take that as information on how to actually be free and the way to escape bondage. And I want to be clear, we may not be in physical bondage, but mentally, most of us remain in a state of mental bondage. And we're going to talk about that on the show today. And before we get started and really kind of delve into the meat of things, if you guys aren't aware, yesterday we celebrated the birthday of Malcolm X. And, the thing that I love about Brother Malcolm is that he was real. Like he was a real person. And from his earlier days, and if you guys saw the movie Malcolm X back in the day, Spike Lee joint, I think it was Spike Lee. Yeah, it was a Spike Lee movie. But, in the movie, it kind of showed his progression and his evolution. And it showed when he started out as Detroit Red, perming his hair and doing all this kind of stuff. And, just kind of living his life as a Black man in America. But it wasn't until he came into himself and to his real purpose that he became Malcolm X. And that's the Malcolm X that most of us resonate with. But the reason I bring that up, not only because yesterday we celebrated the day of his birth, but, it also is instructive for me because if we judged Malcolm X for when he was Detroit Red, we would have a completely different perspective. But the thing about life and the thing about the passage of time is that it allows for growth, like a change of seasons, right? The trees that are green today, in December, at least in Maryland, they won't be green because everything has a season. And so because everything has a season, we leave space. We leave space for things to grow. And it's important that we leave space for people to grow. Because if not, then we're judging Detroit Red and not able to see Malcolm X. And so, Brother Malcolm, we salute you. We thank you. We honor you. We appreciate you. And we receive the spirit that you left for us, the spirit of revolution, of transformation, of Black empowerment. We receive that and we thank you. And to his family, we thank you for sharing your loved one with the rest of us. And I hope that every day that we can at least strive to live a life worthy of the spirits of the people that have gone before us. And so I'm grateful for those things. Now, my sisters, today we're going to talk about that Black girl magic. That Black girl magic that we so love to talk about. But I want to talk about this Black girl magic for real, for real. And if you guys have ever listened to my show, if this is not your first time listening to this show, you know that I talk a lot about sometimes very esoteric spiritual knowledge because I find wisdom in it. And so, I want to talk about Black girl magic and how to actually tap into that magic. Because I think sometimes as Black women, we think that magic means, at least if I'm paying attention to what I'm receiving from the collective, we think Black girl magic is simply, owning the businesses and the cars and raising the kids and, basically being able to stun on other people. And that's kind of a part of it, but that's not really it, right? That's not really it. It's tapping into this magic, this magical power that you have that allows you to be all of those things, that allows you to do all of those things. And so I really want to talk about that. But in getting into that topic and getting into how do we tap into this Black girl magic and what are the keys? What are the major keys to this Black girl magic? I want to talk about a couple of trending topics. Or at least in my mind, they're trending. One of the things is, I know if you guys have been paying attention, the abortion debate. So the abortion debate has reared its ugly head yet again. And it's because there are various states, throughout the country that are passing legislation that are doing everything from just simply trying to outlaw abortion to actually criminalizing and penalizing women for getting abortions. Now, here's the thing. I want to be very, very clear and unequivocal in my stance on this. I do believe that people should have access to abortion. And I'm going to break that down for you. I think people should have access to abortion. However, I do also understand that a lot of these things that exist under the guise of the feminist movement, a lot of them had their genesis in the sufferings of Black people. And I say that not to, not to, cause division or anything like that, because that's certainly not my intention, but to just state factually. And so I say that even with the understanding historically, how, Planned Parenthood and all these things may have had their beginnings in essentially trying to annihilate the Black race. I mean, it is what it is. But I also understand that we live in a society where people are going to get abortions. That's just what it is. People are going to terminate pregnancies. And I am of the position that if it's going to happen anyway, allow it to happen in a safe environment. Allow it to be a discussion that this woman can have with her family and her friends and her loved ones or whomever she chooses. Because it is her body. And one of the things that that does not get lost on me in these debates is I find it funny that on both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, the people that are generally leading the charge are people that cannot actually have children, right? So on one side, you have, usually older white men, just white men in general, and some older white women talking about the abortion should be banned, and they're doing it for religious purposes. Has nothing to do with the preservation of life, as evidenced by you mean to tell me that you believe that a fetus is more important than the life of these damn children that are sleeping on cages, and that somehow you've lost in the United States, and they may never be reunited with their parents, and they're living and breathing children, their whole people. So you mean to tell me that this fetus that you cannot see, don't get me started, this fetus that you cannot see is more important and has more value than the life of this person that you can see? So I don't buy it, right? I know what your intentions are. I know that can't be it, right? Because you're telling me to believe in something that I can't see instead of what I'm actually looking at. You're telling me not to see the dancing bear that's in my damn face. No. And on the other hand, you have people that are leading the charge that cannot procreate. And on both sides of the aisle, I ask, why? Why? Now, here's the thing. I believe in, respecting people, and I believe that everybody has the right to live what they deem to be their best lives. I absolutely believe that, and I will not, kowtow around that. But I do have an issue when, as Black women, we've allowed the movement regarding our bodies to be usurped by other movements. So, I respect, my gay brothers and sisters. I absolutely do. But when I look at the rights of Black women and women in general, I have to ask myself, why have we conceded our fight to people that can't have children? We're talking about, usually on the left, it's led by gay men. Now, again, I have lots of friends that are gay men, and I know I sound like the traditional white person saying that I got Black friends, but I mean that in the sense of I absolutely respect my friends and their rights to exist and their rights to have, to be in love and get married and all that kind of stuff. But I'm specifically talking about your body. You are a woman. You are a woman. You can procreate. You are the bringer of life. They are talking about legislating your body. And so my question is, why have we conceded our struggle and our fight to our Black brothers who cannot have the babies, right? Why have we done that? That makes no sense, right? This is your fight. Why are we not in the arena if this is our fight? And our voices need to be heard, sisters. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about Black Girl Magic. I'm talking about your power. We have amassed a certain amount of power in this country, but make no mistake about it. When you are living in a system of supremacy that does not look like you, any power that you have was given to you. Let's just keep it real. And I've said this before, it was given to you. But then I always remind yourself, why? Why? Why were certain things given to you and other things you had to take? Why? Because that should be instructive, right? That should instruct and inform your decision making, because you got to ask yourself, if I were in power and I had the ability to force people to do anything, why would I force this and not that? Why would I enforce this and not that? That's how I think about things, because you always got to study those who study you. Because I guarantee you there are many people that study who you are, that know who you are. We've talked about this before on the show. You know what I mean? Modern day gynecology was founded because it was experiments that were done on Black women without their consent. When we talk about the abuse of Black women in their bodies, we talk about Henrietta Lacks and her cells being stolen and create cures used, for generations. You know, she's been dead now for over 50 years. But her cells were taken because there's something magical about them damn the melanated cells. There's something about it. Study those who study you. And so if people in power are doing things and giving you power in certain areas and not in others, use that to inform your decision making because it means something, right? Don't allow your voice to be usurped for anyone, because if it's your struggle, if it's about you, then why is your voice the one not being heard? Why is your voice the one that's not the loudest, right? Now, again, we can talk about that for other reasons, because when it comes to our men, obviously I think that there's some issues there, because there's a power dynamic. And so all I'm saying, my sisters, is sometimes we concede our power and we don't even realize it. And so we talk about our magic, but be careful of what you ask for. Because I think about this thing like, if you guys have ever seen like movies with like a genie, right? Genie's granting wishes. And I really do think about life in that context, because I'm like, what the genie says is as you wish. And I really believe that the universe works that way. As you wish. You do as you wish. And so this is one of the reasons that I try to focus so much on what it is that we're saying versus what it is that we're doing. Because what you do is what you wish. That's what freedom means. That's what free will actually means, is that you will do as you wish. But when people are looking at your actions, understand why they may be confused, because what you're saying doesn't look like what you're doing. And what I always call that is intellectual dishonesty. And one of the keys, my sisters, is to be consistent in your positions, to not be intellectually dishonest, but your movements are going to show what it is that you intend, because people are going to do what they want to do. And so pay attention to these things, though. So trending topic. I know I got lost, y'all. I get lost because the information comes in and I get lost. But I want to back up for a second, because what spawned this topic for me was I read a couple of articles over the weekend that are I find to be very informative. There's one from the New York Post that's dated May 17th, 2019, and the title is "Men Are Afraid to Mentor Women After #MeToo, and It Hurts Us All." And essentially it talks about, there's a survey that says basically men are now scared of women. They're scared of women. They don't want to hire women. They don't want to mentor women. They don't even want to say hello to women because of this backlash of the Me Too movement. And here's the thing, my sisters, and this is why I'm saying don't let your voices be co-opted. Don't let it happen, because, well, it's happened, but we got to change it. And the reason I say that is because look at what's happening. On one hand, you have a demographic of people that are telling you that if you, in some states, if you are a victim of rape, incest, whatever the case may be, we will send you to prison if you abort your child. Now, again, that same system is not going to help you take care of that child. Look, don't get it twisted, because the intention is not, they don't care about your children. They don't care. It's not about caring for your children. It's about making sure that their race survives. And that's just the truth. It just is what it is. Right? You just happen to also have a vagina and be able to procreate. So you fall into it, right? But it was never about protecting you. As we talked about the genesis of the thing, it was initially about destroying you. But then people came to realize, well, damn, our women are having abortions too. That just doesn't affect just them. So now we got to change something, right? And so understand, people aren't moving in your interest, right? They're moving in the interest of self-preservation, because preservation matters. So when you talk about this Me Too movement, I look at who kind of is the face of this movement. And I understand that the hashtag was started by, is it Tiana Burke or Tatiana Burke or something like that, a black woman. But again, the movement has been co-opted. Because when we talk about Me Too, my sisters, largely we're not talking about black men. We're talking about punishing powerful white men for their behaviors. Just keep it real. We're talking about punishing white men for their behaviors. But the result, what actually happens on the ground, is people that look like you and I are pulled into this. Our brothers are pulled into this. And so now what happens is the people that can least afford the smoke, right, is getting the smoke. And so all I'm saying is be careful what you wish for. Because what you get from the genie may not be what you thought when you rubbed that damn bottle, right? You may have had the best intentions. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And so when we're talking about this abortion thing, right? Now, men, because don't forget, white men control this country, period. It is what it is. And so regardless of how much power we've amassed or how much power we've been given, we're not there. We're not white men. We're still not there, right? And they're not passing laws to care about you or people that look like you. And so when we get caught up in this Me Too movement, first and foremost, we're not interacting with these men. So when we're on these bandwagons talking about Me Too and believe all women, in our communities, what that looks like is a black man says, my girlfriend tried to stab me, and the police came to my house and didn't believe me. They believed her. That looks like your son coming home and telling you someone hurt him, but you believe, and a little girl may have hurt him or done something to him. That looks like you telling him that he's the problem for not being man enough, you know what I mean, to take the hits. So what is it that we're saying? If we're telling, on one hand, we're telling our little boys that they're acting like a bitch, right, for not behaving a certain way. And then once they do behave that way, now we have issues. But then on the other hand, we're saying to them, you don't really matter because the future is female and we believe all women. So remember, my sisters, your little boys are going to grow up to be grown men. And if we're putting policies and laws in place that are going to harm our children, don't be confused when in our communities, the suicide rate among our children, specifically our little black boys, is increasing. I know that's hard to hear, but this is what I mean when I say about being triggered and having real conversations. Because you can't get the good without the bad sometimes, especially when you're being intellectually dishonest. So if you're saying that we're going to believe all women what we're saying is we're believing all women to the exclusion of black men. And so when harm befouls your little black boy because of the policies and the procedures that you voted for, that you supported, you cannot then be amazed, because I'm telling you, this is what is happening. So when we jump on these bandwagons, understand what's happening. So when you allow your movement to be co-opted and your struggle to be co-opted, understand what's happening. So if you have a situation where people are telling you that all black men are toxic, and I want to get to that, that's my next article. All black men are toxic. My question to you is, sister, are you still having sex with black men? I mean, that's a fair question. Because if you are, then how are you, what are you saying? Do you believe that he's toxic? And if you believe that he's toxic and now you're exchanging spiritual energy with him, what does that say about you? What does that say about you? If you are saying all black men are toxic, when your son hears you say this, what are you thinking that he's thinking? And so when he goes out into this world that thinks he's toxic, and then he come home and he knows his mother thinks he's toxic, are you really shocked when our little black boys are mentally confused. You know what I mean? When they have these depression and anxiety and mental health issues. And all I'm saying, my sisters, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. So the things that you are wishing for other people, the sins of the father have a way of being revisited on the son. That's all I'm saying. So when you're wishing ill for your men, you're wishing ill for your sons. When you are wishing ill for other people, you're wishing ill for your daughters. You're wishing, you know what I mean? Like, it's not about this petty retribution thing that we like to do. Because as I've said on this show before, when you are confident in who you are, you know who you are. You don't need, you know what I mean? You don't need retribution. Because here's the thing about us that I realize. When we say that we want retribution, what we actually want is we want someone to feel how we felt. We want someone to be able to understand our pain, but it's not you. We don't want them to say it. We want them to feel it. And we want to know that they felt it. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. It vibrates because you're on that same frequency. So what happens is like a boomerang. Everything that you want someone else to feel, you end up feeling it because you're vibrating on that same frequency. You're on the same level, on the same frequency. And so what I would propose, my sisters, one of the keys of this thing is to own yourself, to own your own. Because until you own your own, you can't be free. And shout out to Jigga Man. You know, I love Jay-Z. But, you know, I was listening to the song. I think the song is called The Keys. But it's a song with DJ Khaled, Future, and Jay-Z. And there's a line that Jay says, you know, until you own your own, you can't be free. And yes, he could mean businesses. And that is absolutely true. But when I look at that, I look at it deeper than that. And my sisters, until you own your own shit, for real, your businesses and everything else, you can't be free. So here's the thing. You can have all the businesses, all the degrees, all the black girl magic you want to. But if you're not owning up to your own shit, you can't be free. Because whatever level that you're on with this petty retribution, all this stuff, that's where you will be. And so what you're wishing on someone else, if that's the level you're still vibrating on, that's what will be revisited back to you. It's a boomerang. What goes around comes around. And so be careful of that energy that you're putting out. Because when they say, do you want the smoke? Right? That secondhand smoke will kill you. Right? Be careful. That secondhand smoke will kill you, my sisters. Understand that. So when you ask yourself before you put these words and put that energy out there, do you want the smoke? Because when we say that Me Too, believe all women, all black men are toxic, my sisters, when it falls back on your household, you are not gonna like it. When it falls on your man, you're not gonna like it. You're not gonna like it, and I assure you of that. So be careful when you get behind these movements that are not about you. They're not about you. They're not for you. They're not. So when you get behind these movements, ask yourself, what are they selling to me? What are they selling and why? Why? Why am I letting this person who is not me, who doesn't look like me, who doesn't have my struggles, co-opt my struggle? You don't get to co-opt my struggle because you've never walked in my shoes. Until that person can walk in your damn shoes, don't let them co-opt your struggle, my sisters. So be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Because it's real in the field. And so if you understand what I'm saying, you feel me. You understand what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying. And I want to close out with this story. Because I know I get real passionate because I love my people, y'all. I love my people. And I want so much for us to all win, because my thing is, I can't, I can't be on a movement where I'm the only one winning. Because what good is that? You know what I mean? If I can't ride shotgun with somebody that I care about, and usually it's gonna be a man. I'm just keeping it real because I love myself some black men. And so if I can't sit next to my man and, ball out with him, whatever that means, then what's the point? You know what I mean? I don't want to, yes, I love brunch. I love drinking wine. I love hanging out with my girls. But y'all know, don't pretend like I'm the only one. You will leave your girls and go hang out with your man. You know you will. Come on now. You know you will. Because there's something about that man. And so we can't simultaneously just want to win and not want him to win too. Because who's on your team? You know what I mean? If you don't have somebody on your team that's willing to tell you when you taking L's, I don't know what kind of team, you know what I mean? You may want to reevaluate your circle. Because if all you have on your team is people in an amen damn choir, ask yourself why. Because, as I said this on the show before, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, wounds of a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. Understand that. An enemy multiplies kisses. So if you have everybody on your team saying everything that you say is perfect, you never do any wrong, you cannot do any wrong because you got that damn black girl magic, girl. You can't do no wrong. I would be leery of those people. Be very careful of those people. If you don't have a sister who can tell you when you, I almost cursed. If you don't have a sister or somebody in your circle that can tell you when you messing up, because you ain't perfect, girl. So if you don't have somebody in your circle, re-examine your circle. Because I guarantee you got some snakes in your circle. That's how it works. Be careful. So another story. This was from May 18th as well. I think the other one was May 17th. But either way, this one was May 18th. And the title of the article is Black Girls Molested by White Guy at Pride Festival in Raleigh. Pretty much everyone just watched. Written by some lady. And the article starts with a quote by Malcolm X that says, the most unprotected person in America is the black woman. But here's the thing. Let me explain to you guys what happened for the synopsis. Mom takes her daughter and her daughter's friend, who are both 12 years old, 12, to a pride rally. At the rally, a drunk white man begins to, touch the girl's chest and, stuff like that. The mom, she's like, don't touch them. They're 12 years old, blah, blah, blah. He continues to do so. And everyone's watching, right? No one's doing anything. Now remember, we are at a pride rally. No one does anything until she pulls out a taser, and then they call the police, right? And the police come, and apparently what the police say to her is, if you would have tased him, you would have gotten, you would have gone to jail, blah, blah, blah. Now, at the end of the article, and I want to go step by step with this, because I have several thoughts about this. So at the end of the article, the author says, Black women are shown time and again that we are the only ones that will be there for us. And when we are fighting against this complicated system that makes up misogynoir, we cannot be our only line of defense. And it goes on, and it talks about, helping Black women in distress, and, we're being assaulted and abused, and people are just watching and wondering. Now, let me back up with this. Do I believe that Black women are unprotected? Yes. Let's start there. Are we self-supporting and independent and don't need a man or not? Because if you are self-sufficient and you are independent, and because you can be those things and still need a man, right? But if you are self-sufficient, independent, and you don't need a man, The hell you need protection for? Protect your damn self, right? You said you can't, so do it. Be who you say you are. That's it. Do what you say you are going to do and be who you say you are. Be consistent in your position, sisters. If you say you don't need a man, then don't ask for a man's help when you need a man. Because you don't get to pick and choose. That's not how this life works. You don't get to choose when you want the smoke. You get it when you get it, right? And so we're asking our men who we're saying are toxic, we're then scapegoating them for not being there when we said we didn't want them there. You understand why that's a problem? You understand why our brothers are like, I don't want to be with a black woman. Screw this. I'm joining MGTOW or Incel or whatever kind of group is out there. And that's a whole nother show that I'll talk about, another day. But we're saying on one hand, I don't need a man. All men are toxic. What we're really saying is at some point in my life, I've been hurt by a man. And because I cannot get closure on the pain, I am going to overreact to men. So I need someone to feel what I felt. Because I cannot make the person that actually I want closure from feel what I felt, I'm going to inflict this hurt on other people. And as I've said before on this show, I am going to bleed on people that did not cut me. My sister, all these brothers didn't cut you, my love. They did not cut you. So you're making all these men suffer for things that you got to handle, my love. You got to handle it. Because you're vibrating on this level when you are abundant. You are abundance. You are whole. You are. Be that. But you can't be that and be self-sufficient and independent. Because guess what happens? Just like I said last week when I was talking about shining bright like a diamond, just like I was saying that without the two hydrogen atoms, oxygen is just oxygen, right? And until you put the two hydrogen atoms with the oxygen atoms, you don't get water. So water is this life-sustaining force that makes up the majority of our bodies. But it's two elementals coming together, joining forces to they can be independent and stable and all this stuff on their own. But they understand their power because they understand that they're better together. That together, separately, they're great, but they are a force when they're together. And that's the fear. That's the fear. That you can be a force when you join forces. When you join forces. Don't let these people tell you that you shouldn't join forces with your man, sister. Because that's how you get your power. Because remember, you have things that he doesn't, he has things that you don't. Last I checked, you didn't have a penis. Last I checked, you think differently. We always talk about that. Women are from Venus, men are from Mars. We're different for a reason. Because when you join forces, when you can allow love, unconditional love, to actually bring you together, oh my God, it's a powerful thing, my sisters. It's a powerful thing. And you let these people tell you that you don't need love if you want to. You be out here struggling and not having a hedge of protection. So when that hedge of protection is lifted, don't be shocked. Because you said you didn't want it. You said you did not want the hedge of protection. But then you said you want men to protect you. But you said you didn't want it. So now you don't have it when you need it. So what I'm saying is just be careful what you ask for because you might get it. And so when all of these laws are being passed and all of these things that are being done that are harming our men, and we're trying to make them pay for things that they didn't do, you're effectively okay with sentencing your men to prison. But you don't realize that keeps you trapped too. You lock yourself in the same cell that you tried to lock him in. Because it's a frequency. It's a vibrational pattern. So be careful what you wish for. Now, I also want to go back to this article because one of the other things that I have an issue with is we don't talk about the roles that mothers play. And I talked about this, I guess it was last week. But we never really talk. We talk about what it looks like when a man is not in the child's life, and the importance of father figures. Um, but what we don't talk about is when children are raised in these single family households, primarily raised by women, um, what type of effect does that have? Right? Because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's just true. It's just universal law. So we can't say, well, my kids are like this because their father's not present, and then say my children are like this because their father's not present. You get what I'm saying? So he's not present. That has an effect. But you're telling him that you don't want him to be a part of the child's life, as evidenced by the things that I've talked to you guys about on the show, in my practice as an attorney, that I see all the time. Women saying, okay, well, he can see them, 2 times a month. And they're okay with that, so long as he's paying child support. Let's not forget that. But we're saying we don't want you to really be an active part of this child's life until the child needs discipline. Other than that, send me a check, come twice a month. If I need a babysitter, I might call you. But other than that, I will call you when I need you. I will summon you when I need you. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. Because whether you like it or not, my sisters, they were put on this earth as our counterparts. They're our counterparts. We are sums of a whole, period. You don't have to like it, but understand what you're saying when you say what you say. And so we go on in this article, and the thing that I find fascinating is this author is essentially saying black men, because she's not saying anybody, right? We're, don't get it twisted, women. When we say that people aren't there for us, say her name, all this kind of stuff, we're talking about black men. Black men. Don't pretend. We're talking about black men. This is a pride rally. These are supposed to be your allies, right? These are supposed to be the allies of the black woman, the gay man, right? And again, I'm not saying anything about gay men. I'm just saying these are supposed to be your allies. So you're amongst your allies and you don't feel safe. And you're calling for the protection of the men who aren't even there to protect you. Because when we're saying this, they say cis men, cisgendered black men are toxic. That means straight black man, heterosexual black man. It's a pride rally. Heterosexual black men are not at a pride rally. So you're lambasting straight black men for not protecting you at a rally they're not at. Understand what I'm saying, my sisters. You're making people pay for things that they did not do. You're making our men pay and suffer for shit they ain't do. We got to stop that. We got to stop that. You're amongst your allies, so you say. You're amongst your allies. Why don't you feel safe? Why don't you feel safe amongst your allies? And you're still calling for the protection of the hedge that you said you didn't want. So be careful of what you ask for, because that black girl magic comes at a price. That black girl magic is the ability to say things and get what you want. You can say things, my sister, and get exactly what you want. But question is, but what do you really want? Because you can say what you want, but what you do betrays what you say. And you got to be careful, because the system is not set up for you to win, but we're trying to help each other to win by investing in each other, by understanding that until you own your own, you can't be free. And yes, I'm talking about your own businesses. Yes, I'm talking about your own communities. Yes, I'm talking about your household and all of it. I'm talking about all of it. But more than anything, own your shit. Own your shit. If that's who you say you are, be that. And when someone calls you that, you shouldn't be offended, because that's what you say you are, right? If you say, oh, I'm a bad bitch, right? And if someone calls you a bitch, you can't be upset because you said you're a bitch. So either you are or you're not. So, but understand why people are confused when we do one thing and we say another, because it's intellectually dishonest. And if you actually allow the triggers instead of making you react negatively and defensively, because that's all ego. It's ego, right? Until you get your ego in control, know that you are not free. Because what will happen is someone will trigger you and they already know how you'll respond. So what's happening is you're actually being controlled by the thing that you are triggered by. It's actually controlling you and you don't even realize it. So the pain that you are suffering from that keeps making you react to our men who didn't hurt you, because I know all the black men on this earth ain't hurt you, right? So because you're being triggered and you are not free, you don't even realize you're not free. And I understand. I'm not speaking as if I don't get it. Because it's a constant struggle that I have as well, is getting my ego in check. And I do it by observing my own emotions. Like, I take a moment before I respond and say, why am I feeling this way? I'm feeling this situation makes me feel uncomfortable. Why? Why do I feel uncomfortable? And I examine that before I react, because I want to check internally to make sure that I'm not reacting to some stuff that is in me. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to react to you to some stuff that's internal that you don't even know what's going on with me, right? So be careful, my sisters. That's all I'm saying. Because I love us. More than anything in this life, I want for us to win. But I'm rooting for everybody black. I'm rooting for everybody black. And everybody that's on this black empowerment. White people, Mexican people, whoever. If you are about empowerment, and when I say empowerment, I'm talking about empowering those who have not been empowered. Us, right? So if you are on that empowerment, then please join the fight. Because it's a daily struggle. But understand that it's a struggle that's internal. It's fighting your own ego and fighting your own demons, my sisters. We have demons. We do. It's fighting your own internal demons by going back to wherever you felt broken, wherever you felt disappointed, wherever you felt, wherever that was. And essentially get over it. And I don't mean in a flip sort of way, but I mean literally vibrating higher, loving more, going back to that little girl that may have been broken and giving her what she needed at that time. Whatever that may be, giving her the love that she needed at the time that you wish somebody would have given you, because that's what's going to heal us, and that's what's going to heal a generation. And my sisters, that's the key to that damn black girl magic. And so I thank you for listening. I thank you for your support. I thank you for your feedback, and I look forward to all of us winning. And until next time, remember, my sisters, all these bags that life has thrown at you and given you, you don't have to carry them by yourself, because the universe has a way of providing that damn, that ram in the middle of the damn field, right? There's always a way out. Always a way out. And every day we walk past our way out. Every day we walk past our way out of mental bondage, and we look at them and we call them toxic, right? It's us. We each other. We are the way out. Our men will show you the way, right? We can't say that they're meant to be leaders if you don't think that they're supposed to lead, right? And I'm not saying women can't be leaders, and so I'm not going to go down that road, but what I am saying is we can show each other the way out, just like Sister Harriet, right? We can show each other the way out of mental bondage. So if something resonates with you, drop me a comment, leave feedback, whatever the case may be. Until next week, have a great week, and wholeness and balance. Since the camera's still on, maybe I'll just keep talking. But again, you guys, when I'm launching my website, and so when you guys decide, when I launch my website, I'll announce it on the show. But you guys take a look, just keep a lookout for it, because I'll announce it. And on the website, I'll be talking about different recipes, like vegan recipes, because I'm, mind, body, and soul. I'll bring people on the show that can kind of help us in these things that we need to grow in. So I certainly hope that you guys stay tuned for those things. But next week,